What is it about this grant that you and EPA believe is problematic enough to freeze this funding and put potentially 31,000 children at risk?
Senator, who is the grant applicant?
This is to the city of Santa Ana.
You have the biggest, you have the biggest state, so we're going to have to go through every single list of the grant.
Well,
by the way, with that wind-up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water, their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zelden. And Master Zelden, you've only been at the EPA for a few months, but in that time, you've done more to dismantle this agency than probably all of your predecessors put together. That may be a source of pride for you, but it is not for the American people. You've unlawfully terminated grants without justification. You've fired and pushed out some of the best scientists who inform EPA's decision-making. You refuse to spend money that Congress has appropriated to the EPA by law. And you've launched a pro-polluter effort to delete dozens of environmental protections. On top of all this, you've launched an effort to overturn California's Clean Air Act waivers that improve the quality of air breathed by 40 million Californians and by millions more in other states who have adopted California's high standards. That effort, for which my colleagues have decided to eliminate the filibuster to achieve, is not exactly what anyone would call cooperative federalism. But it's your budget that's the ultimate proof of your priorities. You propose cutting America's environmental agency by 55%, meaning that in your view, and that of President Trump, more than half of the environmental efforts of the EPA, more than half of the efforts to make sure Americans have clean air and clean water are just a waste. They're just a waste. Meaning that Californians and people all over the country, when they breathe the air, thanks to your good work, it'll mean there's more diesel and more other particulate matter in the air. When they drink a glass of water, they may not be able to see it, but this water that Americans drink is going to have more chemicals like PFAS, forever chemicals in their water. This will be your good work. I want to be very specific about the legacy you're going to leave if you're successful in eliminating half of our efforts to clean our water and our air. Your legacy will be more lung cancer. It'll be more bladder cancer. It'll be more head and neck cancer. It'll be more breast cancer. It'll be more leukemia and pancreatic cancer, more liver cancer, more skin cancer, more kidney cancer, more testicular cancer, more colorectal cancer, more rare cancers of innumerable varieties. That will be your legacy. I don't know that that's a legacy that anyone should want to have. My kids are going to be breathing that air just like yours. My family's going to be drinking the water just like yours. We may not be able to pinpoint just who gets cancer because you've done away with half the budget of those looking out for our clean water and clean air. But it's going to be somebody's kids, it's going to be somebody's family. To put this in more specific terms, there are 22 grants frozen by the EPA focused on improving health and reducing pollution, many of which directly impact children. For example, one project in Santa Ana, California, provided funding to help detect and prevent lead poisoning in children. According to the census, about 10% of the population in Santa Ana are under the age of 9. With a population of about 310,000 people, that means that 31,000 children are at risk of lead poisoning in Santa Ana without this funding. What is it about this grant that you and EPA believe is problematic enough to freeze this funding and put potentially 31,000 children at risk?
Senator, who is the grant applicant?
This is to the city of Santa Ana.
You have the biggest, you have the biggest state, so we're going to have to go through every single list of the grant. By the way, with that wind up, by the way, I understand that you were an aspiring fiction writer. I see why.
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand your view that you can cut half of the agency and it won't affect people's health or their water or their air. That, to me, is a big fiction, Mr. Zeldin.
You've forgotten about the fact of cleaning up
I have to
the
think,
LA
Mr. Zeldin, I think, Mr. Zeldin, if your children were drinking water, if your children were drinking water in Santa Ana, Mr. Zeldin, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier about whether there was lead in their water. Maybe you would give a damn instead of coming in here and suggesting that any grant that takes lead out of the water must be waste, fraud, or abuse because you need the money for a tax cut for rich people because you're totally beholden to the oil industry. You could give a rat's ass about how much cancer your agency causes.
The gentleman's time has expired.
It began with Schiff calmly but firmly laying out the facts. He didn't mince words. In just a few short months, Master Zelden, the newly installed EPA official, had done more to dismantle the agency than all of his predecessors combined. Schiff accused him of unlawfully terminating grants, firing top scientists, refusing to spend funds Congress had already approved, and launching a pro-polluter agenda designed to erase decades of environmental protections. Then came the real gut punch. Schiff highlighted Zelden's effort to overturn California's Clean Air Act waivers, protections that safeguard the air breathed by 40 million Californians and millions more nationwide. Cutting the EPA's budget by 55%, Schiff argued, wasn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It was a death sentence written in fine print. When Americans breathe the air, thanks to your good work, it'll mean more diesel and particulate matter. When they drink a glass of water, it'll mean more forever chemicals. Schiff painted a grim picture of Zelden's legacy. More lung, liver, breast, pancreatic, and kidney cancers. More lead in drinking water. More children exposed to toxic pollution. And then he drove it home with something no parent could ignore. Santa Ana, California. A city where 31,000 children are at risk of lead poisoning because the EPA froze grants to remove contaminants. When Zelden tried to deflect, suggesting they can't review every grant, Schiff didn't hold back. He reminded Zelden that this wasn't about bureaucracy. This was about kids breathing dirty air and drinking poisoned water. If your children were drinking water in Santa Ana, maybe you wouldn't be so cavalier. Maybe you'd give a damn. Then came the final blow. Schiff calling out the real agenda, protecting tax cuts for the rich and big oil instead of protecting families. This hearing wasn't just another political clash. It was a glimpse into what happens when environmental protection becomes a bargaining chip for corporate profit. Schiff exposed it for what it is, a war on public health. If you believe clean air and water aren't negotiable, if you believe no child should be poisoned for profit, then make sure this story is heard. Like this video, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and drop a comment below. Should Congress step in to stop this EPA rollback? Your voice matters more than ever.